I've been dredging in Alaska for about the last 4 or 5 years because I own claims here in California, but we've been outlawed to mine in California. They outlawed all our equipment. And so basically we've been shut down in California. So I started going to Alaska. I started in Nome. There's some club facilities up there that you can pay and go to the resort, and they supply you equipment, food, housing. So it's an easy way to do it. So I spent a couple years in Nome, Alaska, working the beaches of Nome, dredging inland, and enjoying the Nome area, which is a beautiful and interesting area on the Bering Sea. I got to dredge the Bering Sea with one of the guys from the show Bering Sea Gold.
Huh.
And I got an invitation to go to northern Alaska with a friend of mine who had a commercial mining claim just out of central Alaska, and he had leased a river claim, a placer claim on Dead Man Creek. And he hired a couple friends of mine who were seasoned dredgers to go work this claim he leased, and he invited me also. And so I made a deal with him. He got 25% of my operation, and I set up on his lease claim with the other guys, and we worked it for about 10 days and weren't finding any gold. The gold was real thin on this lease claim. I worked 10 days and only found a half ounce of gold.
So how much is a half ounce worth at that time?
Half ounce today is worth about $750.
Okay, so 10 days, $750, and you keep 75%
but I
of
worked
it.
10 days to get it. It just was not paying. It wasn't worth my time. I'm barely paying for gas to run my dredge, and I'm not making any money. So
75 bucks a day?
After 10 days, I started looking for another claim to work on the river, and I was camped on a GPA, Gold Prospectors Association of America claim, and that's where I was camped. And so we started prospecting it, me and one of the members from the club, and we found a section of river that was showing a lot of gold in it. And so we moved the operation to that location, which was right above where my camp was. And I got 3 weeks in working before we got run out by winter, and did about 4.5 ounces of gold in that time. And the most I hit was a half ounce one day. And
that's a good day.
And so, it was productive enough to work and make money at it. The gold I found paid for about half my trip, but I didn't have a full. I planned on being there for 2.5 months and got run out after a month and a half because of weather.
So this is definitely a labor of love. You said it paid for about half your trip.
It's always been a passion for me. I just love mining and prospecting, and I love Alaska. So
you mentioned that in California some of your equipment has been outlawed. So can you kind of explain to me like what is the equipment that you use? What got outlawed in California, and why'd they outlaw that equipment?
Well, okay, I don't want to get political or talk politics, but the state of California basically had an agenda that they were trying to shut down mining in our state. And that's a movement that's going on across the United States. But they initiated a drive to shut us down, all the miners. I'm a placer miner, I'm a river miner. I have been for 35 years. And so I dredge, use a 4 or 6 inch dredge and dredge the rivers, and I have mining claims that I pay for, and they belong to me. I have the mineral rights to them. And they were trying to run us out and shut us down. So they went through the political system, and with the help of Forest Service and Fish and Game, they were able to shut us down and outlawed all of our mechanical equipment. So anything we had, all our motors were made illegal.
So the only thing you could do is like get out there with a pick and a
pan. Pretty much old school, old time, like with a pan and a shovel and a pick, and that's pretty much what they were trying to do.
So no motors in California?
So they weren't shutting us down from mining, because I mine under federal law.
Right.
And my mining claim is a federal mining claim that I pay for.
But the methods by which?
The way they did it was they outlawed our equipment, but they didn't shut us down mining. I still have my claim. I can still go work it. I just can't use my dredge, which is one of the only ways to profitably work a river.
What is a dredge? Like, how does a dredge work?
It's like a suction vacuum.
Okay.
That I run. My 6-inch has a 6-inch nozzle, and I'm working down in the river, working the sands and gravels, making a big hole, taking it down to the bedrock, which is the bottom of the river, where all the heavy gold runs. And once I open up a hole, I go in and I work the bedrock, all the cracks and crevices, and that's where all the nuggets are. And it sucks it up through my hose, up to my dredge, and processes it through a sluice system.
Okay, so the bottom of the riverbed, there's actually like bedrock, and
Yep.
then on top of that, there's gravel and sand and stuff.
Gravels that have been deposited in the river.
And over time, the gold kind of like
Because
works
of its
its way
high
to the
specific
bottom.
gravity, it vibrates and works during flood layers, like in the wintertime, heavy floods. It'll vibrate and work its way down to the bottom of the river, and that's where you find your big gold.
So the river's actually kind of like acting like a gold pan.
It is. It's kind of processing. It's kind of like a shaker system. It's kind of vibrating, and when rivers at flood stage, which we've had 4 or 5 of them in the last 30 years, where the river's flooded, and when it happens, you can hear the boulders moving down the river. It's pushing boulders down. Well, all the gold in it, because of its weight, drops down to the bottom of the river, to the rock, where it can't go any further, and it'll get lodged in cracks and crevices. And so when you find stuff like that, a nice crack, you work it and clean it out, and that's where your gold nuggets come from.
You find any gold nuggets on this trip?
Funny, Alaska, the bedrock we were working on, the section I found that was the richest, most of the gold was gone off the bedrock. It had been worked by the commercial miners. But 5 years ago, there was a major flood that came down Dead Man Creek, wiped out everybody's equipment who had equipment on it, washed it away. And it created a flood layer. And in a river, when you're working through the sand and gravel, all of a sudden you may hit a clay layer. It's usually a flood layer, where in those clays you will find fine gold. And this particular section of river, I went down 2.5 feet, and I was hitting a lot of fine gold and flakes and small little nuggets. And it was rich enough to work, and it was easy because it was all up on the surface. So I didn't have to go all the way to bedrock. But when I did push down to bedrock to test it, I found that one nugget was the only nugget that came out. Other than that, it was all
So that's pretty big.
all size this, like this.
Can we see that? Let's take a look at that.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big nugget. That's so how many ounces is that?
That's only about 3 pennyweight, so it's a little over a tenth of an ounce.
Okay.
And but nuggets are worth a lot more money than the flour gold. Because
So what's that worth?
I can make jewelry out of that. I'll make a pendant and sell it in my business. I'm on the circuit. I am a dealer. And I've had a business for 25 years selling on the circuit. So I make gold out of my jewelry and make jewelry, and I can sell it at 2 to 3 times what the value of it is. You know, so that $200 nugget I can sell for $400 once I hang it, and just make a pendant out of it.
That's $200 just raw.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's approximately a couple $100. At today's price, gold is up right now. So today it was $18.70 an ounce. When it's running up around $2,000 an ounce, that's a good price for gold. That's why it's so popular now. People are going out because the price of gold is high. And so it's economically viable to go mine it. And gold back 10 years ago was $300, $400, $500 an ounce. Now it's almost $2,000 an ounce. And it's based on the economy. And in 2008, when Fannie Mae collapsed and the stock market collapsed, gold shot up from 500 up to 1900 just in that 1 year. And it's kind of dropped, but now it's coming back up again because of the economy and because of uncertainty of the markets. And so gold has a pretty good value right now to go out and work.
How much gold do you have like squirreled away in your house?
Well,
like
I'm not telling you.
Hidden in mason jars in the backyard. You know, underneath like stuff. What? Well, like 100 grand.
I have some private stuff that I keep, some of the nice nuggets, and that I will keep. But most of the gold that I find, I make jewelry out of it, or I sell gold bags with the smaller stuff, and I sell it in my business.
So this smaller stuff, you said this is called?
This is the common stuff. That's common. That's the stuff you find in flood layers, and it's common. It's abundant. There's a couple ounces right there.
So what do you do with this?
That vial's worth like $3,700 at today's price. And I can get that. I can go sell that. You know, it's easy. You can go down to LA.
So what do they do? They just take it and melt it down and then give you a price based on it, or
if
what?
I take it to Los Angeles, they will melt it and assay it. and then I take it to a buyer who I have a buyer already set up. He pays me cash minus 1%. So he takes 1% of the sale, and it's based on the assay, the purity of the gold that I'm selling him. But that bar I sell him has paperwork telling him exactly what the purity is on it. And so you pay to have it melted and assayed, and then you take it to your buyer and they will pay you. The going price is 1% to 2%. You pay the buyer, you pay the buyer.
Folks,
So my guy's 1%.
folks, I'd just like to interject real quick.
I do that with them.
1 second.
Real quick, folks. For those of you watching live, I would recommend to you rewind about a minute or two in the video and just watch at a slight lag. For whatever reason, the streaming is a little bit spotty, but if you rewind it, it smooths it all out, and you can watch it completely in real time without any stuttering in the video. So
Also, we record this whole thing, and if it's bad at the end of the day, we'll just upload the recording, so we got a nice, good copy.
Okay.
correct.
So no worries. We're all good.
Yeah, we're all
Is
good.
this going out
folks.
live right now?
It is going out live.
Oh, okay.
But apparently the people that are watching like live are getting kind of like not a great experience, which is a
Right,
bummer.
right.
But, you know, also we're recording it so we have it archived. And
Right.
Yeah.
So I need to watch what I say.
Yes.
Okay.
Because then the people watching live will see that, and then we'll have to go back later and edit that out, and then you make more work for me and Andy.
Right.
Because we got to edit
You got to
that
edit
crap out.
anything bad I say.
Yeah. Now we already say that these videos are not for kids.
Right.
Okay. So this is a mature content level. If you need to say anything.
Yeah.
But you know, like this is the Adventurers Club. Be a gentleman.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I will do my best. You know,
Easy enough.
but you know me. I'm a wild card. I kind of say what I think sometimes.
Keep drinking. It'll be fun.
Not always popular.
Okay, so yeah, that's fascinating. So there's a couple of things you can do. You can either melt it down and sell it,
Yeah.
or you can make jewelry out of it,
I make
or
jewelry
you
out
can
of
keep
it.
it for your private
Yeah,
collection.
and I've had a gold business for 25 years. I'm on the show circuit, which means I do gold shows, and I'm a dealer with the Gold Prospectors Association of America. They do 5, 6, 7 shows a year around the USA, but we do a couple here in California. And so I'm always attending those shows. And I did it just to have a business, make additional money, and get good price on my gold. Because I can actually double the price of my gold by selling it as jewelry, or you know, as selling it raw to the public in gold bags I make up that they can go pan themselves.
So a gold bag is just like
Yeah.
a bag of sand that you sprinkle with a
Pretty
certain
much.
amount of gold.
Yeah, I put a certain amount of gold in, and I sell it for $20, $25, whatever.
Sounds
you
like a
know?
racket.
It might have it might have $10 of gold in it, but so I'm doubling my price on fine gold, which I can't do melting it.
Right.
So there's ways to make money doing it where you can, make it advantageous and you can make money. And I've been doing it for 25 years now on the show circuit, and I know all the dealers. I get to meet everybody who owns mines and all the hardcore people that have mines, and I pick up places that I can go. Make
So
my
people have
contacts.
mines, but they're not necessarily like holding the mine like this is my claim,
No.
running people off with shotguns and stuff.
I invite
They're telling you like, hey, you can come up
Sure.
and you can work this.
Yeah.
You just got to give me a cut.
Yeah.
Is that the deal?
Do that all the time. I was working out private property. I was paying the lady who owned the property. She was a famous woman, giving her 15% of my operation, which is more than fair, because I was finding good gold on her property. But now I own the claim. She sold the claim to me, so it's mine now. And there's big nuggets on the claim, like this size.
How much is that bad boy worth?
This is 3/4 of an ounce. It has a California State gemstone in it because I hunt minerals too. I hunt everything now. I have no limitations on my passion. I love hunting everything.
You've got a lot of hobbies.
Well, you guys saw the presentation in on Prospecting America. We hunted dinosaur bones, megalodon teeth, all minerals, gemstones, all across the United States. And I made a lot of contacts, have a lot of good contacts of guides that will take you out, that if you want to know where to go, I'll tell you. I'll give you a number of somebody that'll take you out, and you'll find dinosaurs. You'll find teeth, you'll find skulls. We found all kinds of stuff. It was
That's
amazing.
wild.
So I make a lot of contacts through the show circuit and get to meet a lot of people, a lot of dealers, a lot of mine owners, and I make contacts that way. I always make notes of it. And you know, I'm always looking for it. And that was based on my trip around the USA prospecting America. Most of those people I met through the show circuit and went to some private mines and worked, had permission to go work with them. Got to do some cool stuff. Came back with a ton of material. Had a dinosaur skull, I came back, megalodon. And he told me, a woman told me, don't go in that room. And
How has this place not been looted yet?
I'm kind of surprised
What'd you guys
too.
steal from it?
I'm kind of surprised
You didn't
too.
take a key
They
off
keep
that
it locked
keyboard?
up.
Like you didn't take a key as a souvenir, or
I
you don't
wouldn't,
you
you
don't
know,
want, like, you know, possessed objects
You'd have
laying
to
around
be
your house or what?
an unscrupulous person to go in and loot and steal. We wouldn't.
You wouldn't
do
take a
that.
souvenir?
No, I wouldn't.
All
I
the
would,
stuff that you
because
pull out of the
basically
ground. If
it's
you were
stealing.
diving on a wreck or something
Look,
like that, you'd take
stealing
like
is
a...
stealing, no matter how you cut it. You know, there's no
Who owns it?
gray line area to it, and I just won't do it. No, we didn't touch anything. We just went in to see it and view it, and it was interesting. But there was a lot of antiques in the place.
Yeah.
All over the place. They looked like they just walked away from it.
That's crazy.
So Matt had a ghost experience, and it was priceless. I will never forget it, and I'm sure he never will. And but we love the hot spring. We went there every day. There's another hot spring up there that me and Matthew went and visited, the Chain of Hot Springs, which is about an hour out of Fairbanks. And it's a beautiful resort. They have pools inside, and they also have a big pond outside in beautiful country. It's beautiful out there. And it's a resort. There's hotels there, bar, restaurant. They have an ice museum, which is kind of cool. And they also, in fall and winter, they do aurora watching out of the resort. So I'm planning on flying back up and just go to Chain of Hot Springs to go stay for 3-4 days. And I've never seen the aurora.
That would be cool. I'd love to see that.
And it was going on while we were there, but because later in the season the clouds were coming in, we always had cloud cover at night, so we weren't seeing them.
Yeah.
But they were there.
You might want to plan on more than 3 or 4 days.
I know.
Because I know people go up north to see the aurora.
I'm not driving it again.
Yeah.
It was a long drive. It was tough. But you could fly to Fairbanks and rent a car and go 1 hour up to the resort and stay. And go see the aurora, go see the museum, go to lie in the hot springs and enjoy yourself. And I think that's how I'm going to do it next time.
Yeah.
But there's all kinds of thermals all through Alaska.
That's
and
cool.
through the United States.
Oh, yeah.
And Canada. So I stopped and saw some beautiful thermals on the way home, and I would go take pictures and lie in them and relax and enjoy them. And, you know, I love thermals. I always have. There's some awesome thermals all through our country.
Yeah.
If you just take the time to go see them.
So you never answered the question. Do you skinny dip in them?
I'm kind of shy. I don't take my clothes off for anybody because, you know, it's hideous. You know, I'm old and, you know, I don't want people to laugh at me. So I'm kind of shy about it.
You got one of those big bathing suits that's like a double-breasted bathing suit, you know?
Yeah, I'll be dressed.
Yeah,
but
that makes sense.
No, there's a lot of resorts like that out there that are clothes optional.
Yeah.
There's a lot of thermals out there that are that way.
Yeah.
They're everywhere. Up where I live in Nevada, there's thermals all around me because it's a volcanic area. You've got the Long Valley Caldera coming up through Owens Valley, up through Mammoth area. That's all volcano. Mono Lake is a caldera. That's the Long Valley Caldera there. So there are thermals everywhere through it. And lots of places to go see. And I always love exploring them.
So what else did you run into up in Alaska? You mentioned you left the lab at home because you're afraid he was going to get into some stuff.
The thing I love about Alaska, the beauty of Alaska, it's just tremendous. And I love nature. I love the outdoors. I love the mountains. The wildlife. God, the wildlife of Alaska is amazing. We ran into some porcupines, had some porcupine experiences. One was in a cave, and it scared the hell out of me, and Matt too, because it moved all of a sudden. I was looking for a bear inside maybe. You don't know what you're going to run into. It was an old dugout cavern that they were gold mining in, and they made it into a room. There were cots in there, and I went into it and saw something move, and it was a porcupine. Well, what they do is they kind of turn their back to you. And so if you approach them, they smack you with the big tail they have and drive all those spikes into you. And they sink them down to the bone. They have like hooks on them that when they go into you, you can't pull them out. They'll rip your skin as you pull it out. Right by our camp where we were camped, I found a beaver pond. and there was a couple beavers there. And so at night, when it sunset, I would usually go down because they would come out. And they were used to seeing people because it was a mining area, and they would come up to you. And I was doing photography. I love shooting at wildlife. And so I got some great beaver photos. It ended up the more I went, the more I realized it's not two, it's a family. There were like 3 or 4 kids in this den that they had built. And they would come out and be swimming around the pond, and it was just, I loved watching them. Because I never really seen beaver in their native habitat, their natural habitat.
You hear about them, you see the dam, but you don't really see them.
There were deer, elk, moose.
You ever have any run-in with the moose?
Matt got attacked by, I think it was an eagle, and he went on a hike. He took off by himself, which after he did it, I told him, don't ever do that again, because if something happens to you, I need to know where you are so I can go locate you. But he went off on his own. He came back. He was up at a rock outcrop cliff, and he climbed up to the top of it and came out of it, and he said all of a sudden a big bird came down and was swooping at his head. And he was standing at the end of the cliff. Well, I told him, I said, well, his nest was there. You were near his nest on the cliff. And so you got too close to it. And then, I don't know if it was an eagle or a hawk, but there were a lot of eagles there, was attacking him. And, after that, I said, don't go off by yourself. Let me know if where you're going to go, if you're going to go somewhere. So I know where to look if you don't come back. Because there's grizzlies out there, and there's moose, there's lots of things. You're not at the top of the food chain in Alaska.
Yeah.
It's like being out in the ocean. You drop a couple notches.
You ever run into any bears up there?
I saw a couple, but I've seen grizzlies in Nome. They're all over the place. I didn't see a lot of them in Central, but they're there, and you just gotta be respectful of them, especially if they have babies with them, if they have cubs with them. If you come across a grizzly and a cub, you're in trouble, because that mother will attack you if she feels threatened in any way. And so, you never know when you're rounding a trail, all of a sudden there's a bear there. You got to be careful.
Right.
So you got to respect it and respect the nature. Matt spent a lot of time fishing. He dredged with me. He was a real outdoorsman. I was real impressed with him.
But he saw a ghost and he got attacked by an eagle.
Yeah, well, he's young, but he really loved the outdoors and really took to it. And he dredged with me in that freezing river with no problem. He worked hard.
Yeah.
He had good ethics. And
what was his cut? What kind of cut did you give him?
I forget.
You give him any gold to walk away with?
I can't remember if it was half or I gave him a third of what we found.
Yeah.
Because I had to split some of it with the owner. Usually I'll take a cut for the dredge, and I think I'll split everything else with whoever my partner is. Mm-hmm. I'm not greedy about it. I just do it because I love to do it. I love to hunt. And, if you work hard with me, you're going to find your own gold.
Right.
And I'll give you a cut of it, whatever.
That's
it's
cool.
Just gold, I always figured if
you got enough of it buried around your house,
right? I can always go find more.
Yeah.
You were talking about the gold rushes. There was a gold rush of 1848, 1849. Mm-hmm. Then there was a gold rush during the Depression. That people that had the knowledge and knew how to do it, they did lots of jobs. They had no money. Paper money was worthless. They started gold mining. They'd go up to the rivers and rework the rivers and find enough gold to support themselves, to feed themselves, to clothe themselves. So technically there was another gold rush during the Depression. Then there was a modern day gold rush when they invented dredges for the individual. That started a new rush. People could buy a gold dredge and go out and work the rivers where they couldn't really work them very well back in the day. Now we have the technology, just like the metal detectors,
right?
That you could go out and, the guys who do metal detecting find the big pieces. If they have the patience and the will and know how to read their machines, I know some excellent metal detectors that find big stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not good at it because I have no patience. They say you'll find 100 pieces of trash to every gold nugget you find.
Yeah.
Well, I find 5-10 pieces of trash, and it's Miller time for me. It's time to go drink it.
I'm tired of digging stuff
in it. So I haven't found a lot of gold metal detecting, but dredging, I always find gold because I'm processing yardage, and I'm working the bedrock and finding nuggets. and we have good claims.
Yeah.
So, but Alaska.
So how long did natives stay with you up there?
Shai stayed with me for I think about 2 to 3 weeks, and then Matthew flew in, and then he stayed with me for about 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And so they were there for a good portion of the trip. Unfortunately, he worked that first claim with me where we weren't finding a lot of gold, so I only had a ½ ounce to split with them. After that, we sampled downriver and found a much, much richer spot, and I moved to it, and I got about 3 weeks in working there. There were a couple days we were rained out, but I did 4½ ounces of gold in that spot. Now, if I had been able to spend my whole time there, I would have found almost enough gold to pay for my trip, and the trip would have cost me nothing.
So are you going to go back to that spot or no?
I haven't. I mean, it's still there. I only worked a small section of it, and there was a long stretch of the river that was rich.
So you keep that in your mind, like I might go back
other
there sometime.
people that were there, the other locals that were there, they know what I was finding.
They pay attention, so they.
I'm not real shy about it. Talk too much. And, the one great thing about gold is I get to show it to you, and I'm that way. I'll find it like the day I found this nugget. I showed everybody in town. Look what I got. And they'll ooh and ah at it. It's just I get to brag about it and show them what I found. And there's a lot of good-sized nuggets out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I love hunting. Anything, I don't care. But gold's always been my passion.
That sounds like a pretty amazing trip.
It was. Alaska's a beautiful place.
Oh, so this is you in Alaska with a moose. Are you allowed to bring that home? This moose?
Yeah, actually, funny. Matt found that in the river. We were walking through the river. We were doing some spot prospecting, looking for spots, and he was walking across the river, and he pulled that out. And I ended up with it because he flew home.
Yeah, you can't put that in your carry-on.
So I still actually have it at my house, but I took a picture of it with them.
That's cool.
We were trying to find the other one. They're out there. There's all kinds of stuff out there.
It would be nice to have the pair, right?
Yeah, have the pair.
Right.
But it's a nice find. It's something interesting to take home.
Cool.
So, yeah.
So I'm sure people have been asking questions throughout this chat. You want to take some questions from the chat?
I could.
All right. What do we got, Andy? First, wait. Before we do this, what is that stick? What's this stick here? What is that?
Oh, it's a piece of burl, and they were found up in the area. That was at my friend's house, and so I pulled it out and took a picture with it. Alaska, they do a lot of berry hunting there, and as you get in the season, when we're there in the
Berry
summertime,
hunting? Like what
all
kind
the
of berries?
locals go hunt berries. There's blueberries, blackberries. There's like 4 different kinds of berries that they go out and they hunt, and they make jam, jellies out of it. It's a staple of their diet, and so there's a lot of that type of hunting. And then once the rain started hitting us and the weather started changing, the mushrooms started popping up everywhere, and there was like 5 or 6 varieties of different mushrooms that I saw. The first ones that caught your attention were these big red and orange ones, and they were death caps. They were the poisonous ones.
Yeah.
But they were beautiful looking, and they were popping up everywhere. I found a pile of mushrooms that I told one of my dredging partners there about, and I showed it to him, and he knew exactly what it was, and he goes, "These are $60 a pound mushrooms." And he goes, "Where'd you find them? I want to know." And I said, "Well, come on, I'll take you." And so I took him up to the patch, and he harvested a big bag of them and took them home with him, probably ate them. But so they hunt mushrooms there a lot during the season when they come up. And that's a type of living. It's, they're living off the land. And, we met a lot of natives there. Me and Matt went up to the Yukon River and helped. They were all Native American. They were not Eskimo. They were from a Eskimo or a different Indian tribe that lived up on the Yukon in this town there. And they were putting a fish thing in it that they catch salmon in. And so we stopped and Matt jumped in and started helping them. And I was kind of just watching, taking pictures, but I finally jumped in and helped them too. And, so we got to meet the local natives. And, you meet a lot of interesting people in Alaska. It's a different life, a different culture. Interesting.
That's cool.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
All right, let's take some questions from the chat. What do we got?
All right. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank everyone for bearing with us through our spotty stream. It seems to have resolved itself now, and I cannot tell you why. So we're just going to keep right on rolling. But thank you all for tuning in, and staying with us for this far. First question of the night comes from Roland Caballero, who wants me to ask Scott about the squirrel that went up your leg.
You had a squirrel go up your butt?
That's Roland Caballero.
Yes, sir.
I haven't talked to him for a while. I worked with Roland at the gas company. He was my partner and then my boss at one time. Yeah, the squirrel story has nothing to do with the trip, but yeah, a squirrel jumped on my back leg one time and worked its way up under my vest.
Yeah.
And I was freaking out because the squirrel was a wild squirrel, and I didn't know if it had rabies or what. Why is this thing running up my back?
Right.
And it got caught in between my vest and my back, and I was screaming at the guy I was working with and I was training, get it off me, and he finally took a flashlight and he banged it because he couldn't get it under my vest, and this thing fell out, and it was a little baby squirrel, and I'm like, oh my God, you killed the baby squirrel, and it ended up, it just stunned it, and all of a sudden he kind of shook and came to and ran off up into the tree. So luckily we didn't kill it. Yeah. But yeah, the squirrel experience, everybody in the gas company knows about it.
Huh.
Yeah, tell them I said hello.
All right.
All right, next question.
All right, Roland Scott says hello. Brad and Butter asks, I dredged for gold nuggets on the Merced River. It's awesome. How can you, do you have any advice for dredging and saving money?
What was the question?
How do you dredge and save money?
And save what?
Save money.
Save money?
Or maybe how do you make money?
Well,
are there ways to save money dredging?
You know, for me, dredging is my first passion in life. I love dredging the rivers. I love working in the river. I love diving the rivers of the Western Sierras. Every river is different. They're all gold bearing. The Merced River was a rich river. My partner found a 100-ounce pocket in the Merced River when I was working with them.
Yeah.
It's the most gold I've ever seen, but that wasn't uncommon back in the 60s, 70s when the guys first started dredging the rivers. We happened to find a pocket that was missed, and you know, you can make money doing it if you find a good rich spot to work, or you find big nuggets. The big nuggets are valuable. I don't do it for the money. I do it because I love just hunting. I love finding gold. I don't do it for the money. It's a passion, and I just love dredging.
But gold has to be at a high price, right?
Well, right now,
you have to be in a good
the price
area.
of gold being what it is, it certainly is attractive to go out and work.
Yeah.
I'm kind of getting up there in years and find I'm, you know, back in the day when I was young, I would go out and work for 8-10 hours. I work about 4 or 5 hours now, and that's more than enough for me. I'm tired because I just don't have the energy and strength I had when I was young. That's why I like having a partner that I can dredge for a while, and then my partner can dredge, because move more yardage. We'll find more gold that way.
Right.
But right now, a lot of trips I do, I'm on my own. I go by myself, go out and work, which you really shouldn't, but I've been doing it a long time, and you know, so I'll go work a river by myself.
So you're basically out there in the middle of nowhere by yourself.
Yeah.
Diving with a regulator connected to a hookah.
Moving big boulders.
And basically under like 5 or 6 feet of water in a river.
Yeah. I've had close calls before, and I know people that have been hurt. I know people that have been killed.
What's the danger?
I've almost drowned, had a couple close calls in the river. So there are things that can happen, things that could go wrong. So it's better to have somebody with you. It's better to have somebody with you.
You can get pinned underwater?
Have a partner in case you get pinned underwater. Yeah, it happens. I had a friend who, on the Merced River, Dick Allen, he owned Dick Allen Honda. He was working a 10-inch dredge. The nozzle intake's like that big. His head got sucked into it, and he got caught in it. It sucked him in. And
Jeez.
he was going to drown. Luckily, his father was with him and saw it happen and shut the dredge off and stopped the suction, and he got out of it. But when it did, it sucked the blood out through his eyes. So he said his eyes were red when he came out because the suction was sucking so hard. It sucked the blood through his eyes, and he had a close call. He could have died.
That's wild.
So it's best to have. It's just like diving. You want to have a diving buddy with you,
right? Because
a
you are
diving partner that you're going to rely on him in case of an emergency. And so it really isn't a great idea to dive by yourself, or even to dredge by yourself.
But you only have a 6-inch dredge, so your head head's so big it cannot fit in the 6-inch
A lot of times
dredge,
I'm working
right?
my 4-inch by myself, so I'm working shallow, and I'm working in shallower water, maybe 2, 3, 4 feet of water. So if you get in trouble, you just stand up and you're out of the water, So I'm working more shallow areas that are a little safer to work. If you're working deep holes in the river, there's things that can happen. So it's always good to have somebody with you.
All right, next question.
Next question comes from Sinclair. Sinclair, thanks for the question. When you are dredging, do you live in a tent or a cabin?
You're going to have to repeat that because I can't hear it.
So when you're out there dredging, are you living in a tent or a cabin or?
It varies. I have a motorhome that I bought to tour the USA when I did my trip around the USA. So I've always had motorhomes or trailers, and I usually have camps set up at the locations where I'm working. I've had permanent camps on Merced. I had permanent camps on the South Fork Yuba for years. And sometimes I just stay at the hotel. We have the Washington Hotel on South Yuba. Sometimes I'll just stay at the hotel if I'm just there for a short period of time. Mm-hmm. And I have friends I can stay with sometimes. So I don't mind camping, but I'm getting old. I like to have some luxuries, and I like staying at the Washington Hotel because they got a great bar downstairs and a restaurant that I can go hang out with the locals.
Your
and have a
motorhome
good
doesn't
time.
have a bar in it?
I like to have fun and have a good time when I'm out. So I'm not trying to rough it and prove I can do it. I like to have the conveniences.
Yeah.
I like to be set up so I'm comfortable.
Yeah, and your motorhome probably doesn't have any booze left in it, right?
No, it's my motorhome's set up. It's got heating, and it's got pretty much everything I need. It's got a microwave, got music, stereo.
Nice.
Yeah, it's set up nice.
Nice.
And I'm not trying to kill myself. I'm trying to enjoy myself and
do it with style,
enjoy
man.
what I'm
Nothing
doing.
wrong with doing it with style. All right, next question, please.
Next question is from Parviz Malakuti. And Parviz, first of all, has some fighting words for Matt. He says that he doesn't know who Matt is, but he's about to be replaced by one P. Malakuti on Scott's next dredging trip as your protege. And Parviz wants to know, where do you stay or sleep on your trips to Alaska?
I can't hear him.
So where did you stay in Alaska? Motorhome?
The first 2 trips I did in 2015 and 2016, I was with the GPA, Gold Prospect Association of America. I was at their camps. We stayed at the Nome camp in 2015, and then they have a dredge camp inland.
So what do those camps look
Those
like?
camps have a kitchen area and meeting area where we eat, and we all had little cabins, we call them, or huts that have rough beds in them. They're, that you just bring your own sleeping gear. And so you have your own little cabin. They supply you all the food. They feed you while you're there. Mm-hmm. They also supply you the equipment. So you don't have to take your dredges, all your equipment. They supply everything. Now you're paying them for doing that. We also paid to have quads while we were there. You can rent a quad from them. So you want to have all of that. You want to have a quad to ride around Alaska because you'll get to see it.
Are the brothels still open?
But that's one way to do it through Gold Prospect Association of America that covers, you're covered. You don't have to, you just fly up. You take your basic gear with you and your diving gear, whatever you're going to use, your winter gear, and they supply everything. They feed you 3 meals a day. They supply you the dredges if you want, high bankers, different equipment. On Nome, we work the beaches of Nome. The beach of Nome is gold bearing. has been since they discovered it. And they set up machines on the beach, and you get a little claim out there that they give you to work. And so you're processing into a sluice box. It's kind of a high banking system. You're drawing the water off the ocean and then running it through the sluice, and you're feeding it, and it separates the gold from the sand. When we did it in 2016, me and my buddy went for 2 months, and we stayed in 5 different camps while we were there. And we were a week in one, then a week in another one, and then 3 weeks in one, and then a couple weeks in a northern camp that we went up and worked that was private. It was a 1900s dredge camp, early 1900s. Everything on the property was early 1900s. And so we got to do a variety of camps, but every place we went, everything was supplied for us. When I went to Central Alaska, I had to take everything with me. So I took my dredge, my quad, all my gear, and I was self-sufficient. But the logistics for doing it are pretty intense.
So it sounds like if you're trying to get into it for the first time, hook up with the Gold Prospectors of America.
You want to get started, you join a club. There's so many gold clubs out there that you can join. There's going to be one local in your area. There's lots of them in San Fernando Valley and in LA here. There's clubs up by me in Nevada that I'm getting ready to join as soon as this COVID thing stops and gets under control. I'll be joining all the clubs up there, and then I have access to all their claims. As a member of their club, I have access to all their mining claims. And I can go on outings with them and learn from the guys about the area and what they're finding, how they're finding it. I like to take shortcuts and pick their brains of the best people I can find and find out how do you do this and get the short course in it and then go to work and learn real quick. And that's the best way to do it. Join clubs.
Yeah.
And there's some great clubs out there.
Like this club.
Yeah. Well, this is one of my favorite clubs and one I'm most proud of.
Yeah.
I love the Adventure Club, and I love being a member of this club.
It's
and
a great club.
I love all my adventurer brothers. There's some great men here. Everybody is awesome here. You know, some of the people in the history of our club, you know, Doolittle, and I mean, there's so many famous people that have been members here. To be part of that, for me, is an honor.
Yeah.
I'm honored to be a member of this club. So I'm proud of this club. But I belong to about a dozen clubs.
But
and I get to use all their mining claims.
Hear.
I get to dredge on their properties and gold mine on their properties, and they're all available to you as a member.
Right.
So it's one way to go. And if you want to learn about it, that's the way you do it.
Sounds good. All right, let's take a couple more questions, Andy.
Got 2 more questions in the chat. First, Rich, you can hear me, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So next question is from Shaye S. And Shaye says...
Shaye's chiming in.
Oh, yeah. Says, wait, Matt got a cut?
Shaye?
Does that mean that I have a cut waiting for me? Shaye?
You didn't give Shaye a cut?
I heard it. I can't hear what he's saying.
So Shaye says he just heard tonight that Matt got a cut.
Got a what?
Got a cut. When Matt dredged with you, you gave him a cut.
Oh, he did, yeah.
And Shaye asks, where's his cut?
Well, tell him to come see me and I'll give him one.
All right, there you go, Shaye.
You know?
You just made money tonight.
I don't remember if Shai did much dredging with me because he was there at the very beginning of the trip. He helped me get up to Central Alaska, and we were setting up for, you know, the first 3 days, getting set up, moving the equipment up into the river.
You got to work that dredge to get a cut, Shaye.
I can't remember if he dredged with me or not.
Oh, maybe not.
But when Matt came, we were set up, so he went to work with me. And I put him to work, and he worked.
So that's the key. So if I ever go on a trip with you, I'm going to call and be like, are you working a good claim yet?
Yeah.
And if you're like, oh, I'm not getting anything, I'm like, all right.
And come up after I'm already set up. That way you don't have
to
to bust your rear end moving equipment in with me and stuff.
I could just go in and dive the 30-degree river and take my cut of the good stuff.
It's logistics. It takes some work to go in and set up, to break down and get out. It can be, and some of my equipment's heavy. My 6 inches, the motor is a 2-man job to move it.
Mm-hmm.
So and sometimes you're carrying it into the river, so, you know.
But you disassemble the dredge?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it comes in parts. Mine's real easy to assemble and put together. I can do it quicker than most.
Yeah.
But there's some of it's heavy, a few heavy pieces that take 2 men to do it.
Yeah.
So I really need a partner all the time. But I'll use whoever's around at the time and have them help me.
But the way to make money at this is you show up once all the hard work's done and you just jump in the river.
Well, yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to go about it.
That's the lesson I got. All right, last question.
Last question comes from AA. Question: are there any Russian-speaking tribes in Alaska?
Oh, do you meet any Russian speakers up there?
Are there any what?
Did you meet any Russian-speaking people up there?
I actually have a Russian friend who's a dredger that came in from Russia, and he came in to be a gold miner in California, and he was pretty successful. Obviously, there's a wide variety of different people up in Alaska. I'm sure there's Russia. I mean, I was at a spot on our last camp in 2016. We went to the Eskimo village of Teller, which was 15 miles north of where our camp was, and it was on the Bering Strait. So you could actually see Alaska or Russia from across the Bering Strait.
Yeah.
And, you know, it has a Russian history to it, of Russians being there, but I can't remember really meeting any Russians. But you meet people from all over the world.
It would be
in
interesting to
Alaska.
know, like, when we bought it from Russia, what happened to all the Russians that were living there?
I
Did
don't
they
know.
just get out, or were they just like, I guess we're American now?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't really answer that question. I don't know the answer to that. But yeah, we bought it from the Russians. They sold it to us pretty cheap, and I think they made a big mistake because it's obviously mineral rich and has oil and gold and all kinds of stuff.
Well, maybe they needed money back then.
You know,
right?
Like I say, there was 2 or 3 big gold rushes in Alaska that were discovered in the later part of the 1800s.
Yeah.
And, you know, so I think they kind of blew that one. But they sold it to us. Oh well.
What are you going to do?
Yeah, enjoy it.
All right. Well, hey, Scott, thanks for coming out. Thanks for visiting us while you were in town. We appreciate
it was a pleasure to be here and a pleasure to see you guys. And the club looks great.
Thank you.
You guys are doing a great job with it.
We got to show you some more stuff before you leave.
And,
you know?
and I hope this all, you know, stops eventually and things get back to somewhat normal so I can come back and see everybody at the club.
Oh, yeah.
I miss
we
all you guys.
are definitely waiting for that.
I miss seeing you guys. And I'll come back. I'll come back once we open up again.
We'll let you know. You're on the email list, of course.
Give me a shot. Let's get rid of COVID or whatever. I don't care.
Get the shot.
You know, let's just get open again and have a party and enjoy it. Enjoy the club.
Well, hey, thanks everybody for watching. We're off next week for Thanksgiving, but if you enjoy these programs, don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. And we will see you in a few weeks right here at the Adventurers Club.
Fantastic. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah.